Hey everyone, it's Crafting Vicky here, and I'm here to share with you a little make that I did for my office. This is the biggest ever canvas that I'm doing. It's 8.5 by 11, and it was a canvas that belonged to my mother-in-law, and when she passed, I inherited all her art supplies because I'm probably the one who would use it the most. And so I figured this would be a nice reminder to have a little mixed media piece like that in my office at work. And so I wanted something very colorful and bright and cheerful, and that would remind me of my pastime and my hobbies. And it really works because I've hung it in my office, and whenever I'm feeling a bit blue or tired or whatever, I just stare at it a few minutes, and it gets me going again. So here I'm using a bunch of my dilution paints. I just got them and love using them. So I wanted to try out my new stuff. And here I'm putting some gloss medium on it because as you know, dilution paints, it's water based, so they react to water, and I wanted my purple to stay put under part of it, and that's why I did it this way. Here I tried using a Tim Holtz stencil, but it didn't work so well, so I figured I was going to try another one, and that's what I did here, and that one worked a lot better to remove some of the areas that I wanted to remove. And I'm doing a lot of layers on this, and I'm also using a Sherri Baldy image that I won a few weeks ago, and I blew it up very big. It was already partially colored, but then I recolored the old image with my Copics and made the colors more bright so that it would show better on this, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Here I'm using my gel medium to put down some music sheets, as well as some Tim Holtz tissue paper that I had, and I'm also using again with my stencil to give some raised edges all over my piece. Give some nice texture and fun elements to the piece. And I didn't really know where I was going with this. I pulled out a bunch of different colors, and I'm just pretty much trying on stuff. And here I'm using a type of credit cards to put some orange on the piece. And then I thought I could just bring in the colors a bit, and I actually liked how that turned out. I have some art foamies, and so I decided to use those to stamp some of the flowers with my dilution paints. So I used a bright yellow to do it. The first flower, however, was the paint was a bit too thick on it, so I went over it after, but it made a big blob, and it wasn't quite what I wanted. But as you will see later, with all the other layers and stuff, we don't see it anymore, so I took care of that. It's funny how sometimes some mistakes and whatever shows, but then since it's paint, you can do pretty much anything you want on top of it, so that's pretty much what happened later on in the project. Here I'm using some tissue paper. And some book paper. Can't have a piece without some book paper. And you can see the yellow was dragged when I put some decoupage glue on it. And then I put some dilution sprays in purple. trying to dry the in between as much as possible so that it's not as damp. And then I'm putting some more of the turquoise just to bring it back a bit. And then since I kind of like that, I put my decoupage glue all over it to keep the background the same as I would continue to layer it on, because I knew that if I put more stuff on, like you saw the yellow, it would spread. And then I had some vintage piece of lace, and I decided to use that on my piece as a texture element as well as interest, and to give the little girl something to kind of stand on. So I just glued it down because it's very light, so I just glued it down with some lace, and it's some decoupage glue, and that was enough to glue it on. And it was very funny because I had just enough to do both sides, so it came out perfect. I couldn't have planned it even if I had wanted to. The stamp that I stamped is a Unity stamp, and I use archival ink on it. And I didn't use a block because I'm using a canvas. It gives a bit, so I thought with my hand it would be better. But because the colors in the back were very dark, it wasn't showing up as much as I wanted. So then I decided to just put a bit of gesso on top, and then to stamp it again. And it kind of, it still was not as clear as it would have been on paper, but I like the fact that you can't totally read it. It just is there, and it gives you a bit of an illusion, and some of it is easy to read, some of it you need to kind of guess a bit more. And in the background of it, through the gesso, you can still see a bit of the old text that I had been put down. So that was an accident, but I love how it turned out. So I'm using decoupage glue to put down the digi that I colored and fussy cut. And then I use my Stabilo pencil to go all around the edge of her, and I've put some water on my mat so that I could wet my finger and kind of spread it a bit and give her some shadow. It's a messy process, but it's super fun to do, and I'm using my baby wipe to kind of spread it around and remove some of it. And I'm looking all over for a rag because it was a bit wet, so that's why I pulled out my little rag. And then I put some down at the bottom, so a little bit more, so that she looks like she's cast a shadow on the ground. And then I use some my white gel pen to highlight some of the elements on her dress, as well as some elements on the flowers that were still showing on the canvas. And then to finish it off, I had a little flower in my stash from Recollection at Michael's, and but before putting that down, I put a coat of varnish all over the piece. Because I knew that once the flower was down, I didn't want to put the varnish then. So I'm putting the varnish now, and then I'm putting my beeswax, as I usually do. And then I'm using my E6000 glue to put down the flower so that it's gonna stay on. And I had this little bling purple center that was perfect for this. And then I used toothpicks to put two tiny little yellow buttons on her dress to complete her dress. And it kind of gives a 3D 3D effect, so it's really really cool, I think. And then I use my black pen to sign my piece. It's very light, you can hardly see it, but I know it's there. And my make, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe please, and don't forget to check out my blog as well. There's other ideas there. Looking forward to reading your comments. Bye.